Hi, I'm Candy, President of Affordable Bookkeeping and Payroll Services, and today I want to show you how to map your 1099s in QuickBooks Online so that you can properly process the forms. Now, we have clients call us very frustrated often because they don't understand who needs to be reported, what forms to use, or the deadlines. So if this is you and you'd like some additional information, feel free to check out my blog at www.abandp.com. I have multiple blogs on the topic, and it will help you navigate the difficult things that the IRS has in terms of meeting the proper requirements. But let's get started on looking at your QuickBooks Online and how to set that up. So I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see the steps. So I'm going to be using a test company file, and you can then see the steps. But again, I won't be sharing any sensitive data with you that I shouldn't, such as Social Security numbers or tax ID numbers. But the first thing that you would want to do is go under Expenses and go to your vendor. I'm going to use their Books by Bessie. And the first thing I need to do is actually add an expense, because otherwise she will not show up for reporting because the minimum payment would be $600. So this is actually a reminder for you as well to make sure that all of your bookkeeping is complete for the year before you run the forms, or you might miss processing an expense. So I'm going to go ahead and just enter a check for this vendor. And I'm just going to make sure that it's dated into last year. And I'm going to put the bookkeeper. Oops. And I'm going to say that she received $1,200 on that last payment. Now I'm going to go in and edit her. And in this case, her name is Bessie Williams. So she's an individual, but she's doing business as Books by Bessie. So the main thing that you need to know is to match the company name here to the legal name on the W-9 form. So it has to match how they actually report on their income tax return. In this case, most likely Books by Bessie is not the legal name, and so we would have to have Bessie Williams also appear. And we want to make sure an address is also completed. But the main thing I want to show you in the setup here is the business ID and Social Security number setup. If this were for an entity, then it would be a 2-digit - 7-digit format. But for a Social Security number, it's 3 digits, 2 digits, and then 4 digits. And in the case of an individual, which she is subject, so we're going to mark track payments for 1099. If you receive a W-9 form and you realize they are not subject, you can still enter the tax ID number, but you just wouldn't check this box. Now, we will go back to Expenses and Vendors, and then click Prepare 1099s. Now this is, again, a test company, so they don't have a tax ID number on file. So I'm just going to enter one, and again, in the format of a company file, and save. Now we need to map the chart of accounts. So the first thing we're going to do is the non-employee compensation, the NEC form. So we're going to select the box here, click the drop down, and select the accounts that potentially could be used for someone subject to reporting. So I'm going to select accounting, advertising, bookkeeper, building repairs, commissions, computer, cost of labor, and you can see there's quite a few. And as we go through the chart of accounts, there could be even more. So make sure you look through all of your items and select them. And then for rent, there's one account, so I'll just select the rent or lease. And if you happen to have any other down here, you would select those, but most businesses don't have these others to report. And then select Next. This shows you out of the accounts we have selected that would potentially be reportable and the vendors that are set up for reporting, that we only have 2 1099s potentially needing to be done. This will give you the overview to make sure you have everything filled in, their address, their tax ID number, and again, if you're going to have the forms emailed, an email would need to be here. If you're going to mail on paper, it's not necessary, but if you will email, then go ahead and hit edit here, go ahead and add the email address, and then we can proceed. And then you would select next. Now, based on the information, there's only one person that's currently subject to reporting, and that is the books by Bessie. You would then hit finish preparing 1099s. But because this is a test file and not a working file, we would not be able to enter a credit card number and proceed. So I can't actually show you the complete steps of proceeding, but the main thing is to know that you would have two options. You could either select for electronic filing, and you'd enter your credit card number and then proceed from there. Or you could select where you would like the 1099s to be purchased and mailed to you for you to print and mail. But because we cannot continue, we'll stop at that point, but I do want to just give you a quick recap again to make sure that you, number one, have set up all your accounts for what could potentially be needed to report for the accounts you use for those that are subject to reporting, and edit your vendor to make sure that all the information in there is set up correctly so that you can report them. Now, if you decide that this is a little bit overwhelming or you're not sure you're doing it correctly and you would like to have some help, you can reach us at 310-534-5577 or contact at abandp.com. We can get the information from you and process those forms for you. One other thing to be aware of are the deadlines. January 31st is the date in most years that recipients need to have their forms. Again, in the year such as 2021, where that falls on a weekend, then you have through the next business day. But make sure that your recipients do get their forms by the 31st. You do have to also have the 1099 NEC filed with the IRS by January 31st. So we recommend, if you're electronically filing, that you submit those a few days in advance to make sure they're accepted by the deadline. If you're using the 1099 MISC or other 1099 forms, then you now have through February if you're going to file on paper, or the end of March if you're electronically filing. Now again, that will extend one business day if that falls on the weekend. But generally speaking, it would be the last day of the month that the paper or electronic forms are due. Again, this is confusing. Vendors being subject or not subject, do you issue the 1099s to them? It's important to know, again, if you have issued any payments through credit card or a third-party platform, that you do not include those in your 1099 processing, as they will have the forms processed by the third-party provider. But if you have paid through cash, check, debit, or if you've used Venmo, which was meant as a personal type of platform, and they are currently, as of this recording, not reporting on a 1099-K, include those in the 1099 NEC form that you will be submitting. I hope you found this video helpful. You're able to set up your own QuickBooks Online account for proper reporting. And again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out at 310-534-5577. Thanks so much and have a great day. Goodbye.